Welcome to a movie and no haunt. I'm RJ.
And I'm Paige.
And I want to start by saying Happy Holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
It's holiday season. Isn't that great? Well, by the time you're listening to this, the holiday season is basically over because today's the last day of the said holidays. So we're going to take a nice break after that clusterfuck that was Friday the 13th, Part 4.
Thank goodness.
And talk about a movie that I initially was not really excited for. I was like, it's like an original.
I know.
It's going to be dry. It's going to be boring. And I was so wrong. It changed how I took notes because of how much was going on. It had a plot. I loved it. We're talking about 1974's Black Christmas.
You gave everything away. Now what do we talk about? You said you loved it.
I mean, okay, we can go into why I loved it.
Okay, fine. Okay.
I hope you realize we went an hour and 15 minutes of me hating Friday Part 4.
That's fair.
And it's easier to make me do something that I love rather than I hate. I will say, this is my first time watching it. So when we watched the trailers, I actually watched the trailer before the movie.
I do the opposite.
So I actually had like a reaction.
Yeah.
I was really fucking uncomfortable.
Yes. If there's one way to describe not just this movie, but the trailer itself, is being uncomfortable.
I remember, I think it was the first minute that really freaked me out was when they were like zooming in into the house and then you eventually got to the window and you saw the dead bodies. I was just like, that, you could have cut the trailer there and been like Black Christmas and I would have been like, yeah, I'm already scared.
That was my thought too. I think not just that whole 1 minute from point A to point B, but the intercuts that were so stark. You get the Silent Night, very angelic chorus going on, and then you're getting these gruesome, murder scenes and with these disgusting sounds and just animalistic just cut into it. It was very jarring.
It was. Also, I will say this, I've always thought Silent Night is an incredibly creepy song. And this movie just pushes it over the edge.
Yeah.
It's officially just a really creepy song. However, like I said at the beginning, this is a movie and no haunt. So we're just going to be talking about the movie today.
That's it.
Which I'm bummed about.
Same. In
reality, I'm bummed.
After I watched the movie, I was like, I think we would have a really good time making a haunt for this one.
I would have so much fun with this one. We made one for 3, and we're not doing one for Black Christmas. Also, I just want to say I'm proud of myself right now. I said Black Christmas 3 times without saying Black Friday.
Yeah, every time we've referred to the movie, RJ has said Black Friday. I'm like, wait, you mean Black Christmas?
I mean, there was a horror movie that came out this month. This month, Black Friday.
Oh, really?
Bruce Campbell.
Oh.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. I love Bruce. I have to check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a zombie movie.
Of course it's a zombie movie.
So, we both like the trailer. We both like the movie. I will say, ahead of time, you've seen how I took notes for the last 4 movies we did. They were very in-depth, but that was because Friday doesn't have a plot, so there's not a whole lot of, nuances going on.
Right.
I had to change how I do movie note taking for this to where if it was not contributing to the plot, it has 1 sentence because there was so much happening compared to the other 4 movies.
Yeah.
So, now that you know that, if I missed something, you can be like, hey, you missed this. And I'll be like, I did.
No problem.
I probably just wrote it in that sentence.
Okay.
So, are we ready? Or I just want to get into this. Are we ready?
I am ready. Let's do this.
All right, let's go.
Okay, I just want to start off and say I'm getting over a cold, so I might sound different. And if I cough or clear my throat, there's no controlling that. So I'm just apologizing in advance. Thank you for my time.
And with her saying that, and with you saying that, that means when I edit these episodes for Dead Noise, I don't have to edit out
That's
coughs.
true. Hey, I time code them.
We get
so
a free pass for once. I know, but also when you're like, this one half of a second, there's a cough. I'm like, great. I have to edit out a cough. That's great. And usually the cough is while one of us is talking. It's always a thing. Start with this movie. We start with an exterior shot of a nice ass house. That is a nice house. It's decorated for Christmas, and this whole movie opens to the tune of Silent Night. And in my notes, I do have this song has always been creepy,
and it's very light in the beginning. You don't hear it at first, and then it starts to gradually get louder as we get closer to the house.
Yes. We see a woman walk up to the house and enter. She joins the party, and we cut to this is the worst part of the movie. Like whenever I hear the heavy breathing and the snorting of like I call him the moaner because that's what Barb calls him. And he comes to the house and he's basically surveying the house and like looking inside, seeing everything.
Yeah, the snarling breathing is really what gets really eerie. And in this, as he's going from window to window, there's kind of, I don't know if you noticed it or maybe it was just me, there was kind of like a fisheye effect on the lens. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Very cool.
Yes. He eventually finds like, I don't know what you call it, but I call it house gating. It's like the wood fencing that you put against the house.
Oh, yes. Okay.
He eventually finds that and climbs up to it, and that leads to the attic of the house. We get back to the party, and we get some Santa Claus talk from who I guess is Phil's
That's
boyfriend?
what I got from it, yeah.
Okay, I don't know. He was so in and out of this movie. Barb gets a call, and she goes to take it. And POV, we call back to POV. He makes it to the attic, and Barb tells everyone to shut up because she can't hear the call. I like how this movie already sets up the formula for how this guy's getting around the house for the rest of this movie. The moaner sneaks out of the attic and into the house while Barb is on the phone. And he sees Barb and walks around upstairs. We don't know where to yet, but we know he walks around upstairs. We are then introduced to Chris, who goes on to be more of an important character than his girlfriend, Claire. And they kiss, and he's like, I'm going to leave. She's like, cool.
Bye.
Love you. And we get more Christmas music. Barb makes everybody uncomfortable with some skiing talk.
Yeah.
Do you understand why Barb was pissed?
Yeah. From what I could gather from that phone conversation she was having, something about her mother. She definitely calls her mom something derogatory of some sort. And I guess obviously they have a bad relationship, and maybe they were supposed to meet up for the holidays, and she's ditching her daughter for her new boyfriend. And so Barb was like, you know what? I'm going to make this holiday fun. Let me get all my friends and go to the ski resort. You know, screw you, Mom, type of thing. Yeah.
Okay. I thought her family was like, come to the ski resort. And she was like, fuck you, family.
No, I don't think so.
That's what I thought. I was like, what's going on with her? We get a phone call, and we're introduced to Jess, who is also the only English-speaking actor. English accent.
I do want to point out that this cast is A-list cast. Either before this movie was made, after this movie was made. Pretty much every character, from what I can think of, either becomes famous or was famous. So already A-list cast.
I mean, this movie came out before like that weird stigma against horror was there, and it already broke that stigma.
Yeah.
Jess picks up the phone. And do we go straight to the moaner? We go straight to the moaner.
She answers the phone like yelling. She's like, "Hello, hello."
I think it's because the party's loud.
But every single time she answers the phone, it's just like, "Hello."
We get the POV of the moaner. Oh, she picks up the phone and we get the POV of him. Sorry.
So this is showing you right off the bat, without telling you, this is the person on the phone. He's right there.
He's fucking scary. This dude's terrifying. The girls group around the phone, and they are all equally creeped out besides
Yeah.
Barb, who I think is not creeped out because she is shit.
And I think this girl can handle herself. She's not, goody two shoes, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like most of these girls. This close-up tracking shot of all of them was really good. It really shows how scared they were just by their face. Yeah, just by this alone. What are we, like maybe 10 minutes into the movie? And I'm like, okay, not even, right?
We're around 6 minutes
I
in.
was already like, okay.
We're really short. Because I remember I was taking notes. I'm like, man, we have to be like at least 15 or so minutes in. And I paused the movie to see if we were at 6. And I was like, I have to change how I take notes because this is going to take forever. Eventually, Barb tells Jess to give her the phone. So she just like gets the phone. And her and the Moaner have a war of words. And it ends with him saying he's going to kill Barb. He's like,
he says,
kill you.
And he says, I'll fucking kill you. And then click.
That I listened to this with headphones on.
Oh,
So
I couldn't do that.
Also, audio editing, great in this movie compared to the last 4. Fantastic. Just hearing, because like, I'm sitting there, I'm taking a note, and just hearing him say that while I'm taking a note, it's like, okay.
Chills.
And the stakes are presented to me as the viewer right there.
Do you know the behind the scenes about the phone call scenes with the actors? Okay, so the director, they didn't have the snarling sounds because I think he said he didn't want over-the-top reactions from the actors.
Yeah.
So he would be just reading very obscene things into the phone to get their general reaction. And then in post-processing, they did the snarling, and the guy would be on his head, literally on his head, and recording because the vocal cords would get like crunched. Really innovative stuff.
That sounds painful for the guy who had to do this. Something happens between Barb and Claire. I don't have that as a note, but I remember.
Oh, really?
That.
Oh,
It makes Claire go upstairs.
I think
for packing.
I think Barb says something a little mean to Claire because she's so innocent or something like that, and it really, hits a nerve with Claire.
Claire goes upstairs, and we get a middle-aged lady with presents at the door.
Mrs. Mack?
I genuinely, she's one of the 2 characters. I don't know
the house mother. Yeah, Mrs.
Yes,
Mack.
the house mother. Okay. Claire gets to her room to pack, and she begins to take the clothes out of her closet. And basically, the Moaner is hiding behind like the plastic wrap that like you get from dry cleaners. Now, I should note before this, I didn't note this in my notes because I didn't think it would be important. She kicks the cat out of the room.
Yep.
She then thinks she hears the cat coming from the closet. And she goes back to the closet to check on it. And the Moaner attacks Claire and basically suffocates her with the clothing plastic.
The build up to that moment where we're in the POV of Claire. And you're looking at the plastic. There doesn't seem to be anything weird about it. But if you look close enough, you can see a hand like right at the edge of the plastic. It was so creepy.
Is this POV when she's starting the pack or when she's going back to check?
I think it's going back to check. The second time she looks.
See, I feel like it would have been way better if it was the first time.
I could be wrong.
Because the second time, we already know he's
I could be wrong. So either or, but it really struck a nerve with me for sure.
We cut back down the stairs, and Mrs. Mack is putting on some pajamas, while the Moaner really like drags Claire's dead body to the attic.
Also, I just want to note that pig squeal of when he attacks her through the plastic.
I don't remember the pig squeal.
Very animalistic. Yeah.
I remember like a lot of him. For some reason, the one that did not process to me. Oh my god! I just realized my notes were 7 pages long.
Oh, okay.
Holy shit. The old lady grabs her hidden whiskey in like I think this one's the books. So she starts, and Jess comes back into the room. We get another phone call, and one of the girls goes to answer, who I believe it's Phil, answers the phone for this one. It turns out it's just Peter, which, me saying it's just Peter this early on shows how innocent I am to the character.
It's just Peter. Just the boyfriend.
It's just Peter, the guy who's most likely going to be trying to kidnap her by the end of this movie.
Say what?
Even if the movie does not want to tell you that he's going to kidnap her. Jess wants to talk to Peter, and Peter's like being an ass. He's like, I have a recital. I've been practicing all week.
Me.
Okay, Peter. Which is so great, because like in 20 minutes, he's like, you're so selfish. It's like, seriously? Oh, God, no. We're in the bathroom. This sign's so disgusting. Mrs. Mack is in the bathroom brushing her teeth, and she's playing with the mirror. I guess she's trying to find her alcohol. She thought it was in like in the medicine cabinet in the mirror. And it's in the fucking toilet.
On a string.
But not like the toilet, but like the area where like the water, the tank. Oh my, and it was rusty. It was so rusty. I remember I sat there. I didn't take the note. I had to pause the movie to take the note because I was so appalled. I was like, you put your mouth and hands on that. Disgusting. We cut back to Jess going upstairs. Oh, this scene got me. This scene got me really good. And she goes to Claire's room and she starts knocking, but Claire doesn't answer. And we get a jump cut to Claire's dead body in a rocking chair.
The piano music, the creepy nursery rhyme, and the face expression of Claire in pure horror with the plastic overhead, textbook horror. It's fantastic.
This was done way better than a lot of horror.
Yeah.
This got me. Because I feel like a lot of other horror movies would have audio that would be leading up to the reveal that it's like doing that. With this, it is just a jump cut. And I was taking a note during the jump cut, and I looked up, and that's what I looked up to.
It's a close-up shot. So we're in her fear.
Yes.
We're in her last moments. Yeah.
And I have the next one. The motor starts to sing a lullaby in the background. This guy's so creepy. He may win the award for, like, this season's scariest killer.
At least definitely right now.
I mean, after this, I think our only other one is Candyman, and he's not scary. He's kind of relatable. Like you sympathize with him in a way. We cut to the next morning, and we're at like the outside of a church because it has to be a church.
That's probably where his piano is. Yeah.
We see an old man pacing back and forth, waiting for someone, and I think he gets a snowball thrown at him.
Yeah, by those kids.
But turns out it's Claire's dad. He is the other character whose name I do not know.
Claire's dad.
Besides Claire's dad. We cut to Phil's boyfriend being just a sad, I don't know how to describe him.
Definitely not a jolly Santa Claus, that's for sure.
He was so pissy about like Phil going on vacation, and it's just like, did you ask if you could just tag along with Phil?
Are all the boyfriends trash?
Chris was cool.
Yeah, he's fine. But what, the majority of the boyfriends, I guess?
The main character boyfriend was cool. Claire's dad is we cut to Santa. He's being mad because GF is going on vacation with Barb. And wow, we are just back at the house. That's a random cut. Claire's dad is, quote unquote, I have it, disappointed in the atmosphere of this house. And he doesn't want Claire dating. And while him and Mrs. Mac are talking, there's like a poster of two naked people making the peace sign. And all you see is Mrs. Mac like just covering this, like the person's bare ass just to get
good
her
little
off
moments
him.
of comedy to lighten the mood a little bit. Nice contrast.
He offers to take the old lady to the market?
She more pushes on it. She's like, since you're going that way, can you please give me a ride?
Hey, at the end of the day, he offered. At the end of the day, he was the one who offered. She's getting ready, And we get a monologue in the mirror. And this is a great monologue. This is just her being like, these fucking kids are going to be the end of me. It's not my job to fucking take care of them. They're old enough to do this shit. And everyone's not going to be a fucking little angel. Okay? Your daughter's not a precious little angel. Okay? She's like all other girls. And we get more. And you know he's here because the cat's meowing. And you know if there's a cat meowing, that's not the cat. And an old lady goes exploring for what she thinks is the cat, and she drops the contents of her purse and goes to pick him up. And I love it because she goes on this rant about the cat while she's picking it up, and she calls the cat a prick. And right as she calls the cat a prick, Claire's dad appears and like walks into frame, and he just like looks over. And she's like, "Oh, you're so nice. Thank you for this." And he walks away, and she just flips him off as he's walking away.
She's definitely a character, that's for sure.
She's probably the best character in this movie. We see Claire's dad and old lady leaving, and we zoom. This is such like a. It's like kind of a fucked up scene in a way.
It really is.
Because we see them leaving and we zoom right back out to see Claire's dead body. It is a really fucked up scene. Also, I just want to note this. I'm going to note this. There's not a lot of stupid logic in this movie, but the conclusion of Claire's dead body is one of the dumbest points of logic in this movie.
What do you mean?
For me. When we get to when you get to the end.
Oh, okay.
Like the conclusion of her arc as like the body's arc, it's so stupid for me. It's the one part that didn't make sense. Oh my god, we're here. Oh god, this is it. This is the beginning of Peter's villain arc.
If it wasn't through the phone
Also,
conversation that we're introduced to him.
No, he's just more. I just thought, okay, he's kind of like a prick. That's fine. Like, sure, she's dating a prick. Okay, you know, everyone. Has
I was just gonna say, who
like,
doesn't go through that, especially in college.
This is like his villain arc.
Yeah.
For the viewer, he already is a villain. We're just witnessing it. They are in his like piano room. This place's acoustics are insane. Everything echoes, and it's like very apparent. And we just cut straight to Jess being like, "I'm pregnant."
Yeah, she's just like, "This is the conversation I wanted to have."
And I don't want it.
Yep. It's a very real conversation, especially in 1974 when we're on the end. Well, not really the end, but like a golden era of women's rights and having ownership over our bodies. It's obviously commentary on that. Yeah, go ahead.
In 1974, think of a percentage, because this is what went through my head when I was thinking about this. How many people probably thought in 1974 that Peter was in the right and she made him this way?
I think it's what demographic are you talking to? You know what I mean? Are you talking to the, flower children, the hippies that are maybe seeing this movie? They might say, no, Jess is in the right. Or are you going to be talking to the generation before them, their parents? They're going to be like, no, of course she's supposed to have the baby. Peter is all in the right to be acting like this. So...
yeah. She makes him a monster at the end. It's
okay, sure.
No. Yeah, sure. But because I was like, here's the thing. I feel like in today's world, if this was to come out, this would be a big fucking debacle.
That Peter is obviously in the wrong.
True, but you would still have like a decent portion of people being like, "Oh, she made him like this. She should have just had that baby." And I feel like that percentage is way more in the 70s because while yes, the flower children existed, the 70s were way more conservative.
Oh no, for sure. But like I said, I think it depends on the demographic.
Yeah. I just think it's weird that there was a time where people looked at both of them and was like, oh, this one's right and this one's wrong, or oh, the other one's right and the other one's wrong, and like we're in 2021 and it was just like, oh no, Peter's wrong.
I think it's really interesting for a horror movie to make this type of conversation piece. They didn't really have to,
and make it a main plot point.
Yeah,
it's not a one. It's not a one-liner.
I applaud them for that for sure.
Peter says, "Oh God, I have the line. I sat there. I was watching. I'm like, oh yeah, Jess, fucking end his whole career. And then he said this, and I paused, and I was like, you didn't just say
What
that.
is it? What is it? Lay it on me.
He says, how dare you not consult me about this?
Yeah, I was like, I knew this is
and I'm
it.
like, he's like, I want the
like,
baby.
cool. All right, good for you. Like,
And here's the thing: if I could just transfer it to you, I
Please.
would. You can have the baby. We'll be good.
that's not how this works.
But the thing is, this is my 9 months are about to get fucked.
And she goes and she says that. She says, I don't know if it's this conversation, but she's like,
it's the one at the
later
house.
on. Okay, but yeah,
Later
she
on.
mentions it like it will change my life forever, and I'm not at that point. You know what I mean? I'm not putting my life
Exactly.
on hold for you to have this child that I clearly am not at this point in my life wanting.
He goes, "You're so selfish." And having a baby so important. I love it because he's like, "You're being so selfish. Having this baby is important to me." He said selfishly.
The gaslighting.
I literally have this movie so he's such
It's
a gaslighter.
bad.
It's
It's
crazy.
oof.
The best thing is he sends her away at the end. Like he can't like his gaslighting's not winning, so he's like, just leave. I must continue my villain arc with a very uncomfortable piano session in like 5 minutes.
Oh boy.
And Jess starts to walk out, and for a moment I forgot how bad the acoustics in this room were. And then she starts to walk, and her heels are powerful. Her heels. She is moving with a purpose, and her purpose is to get the fuck out of that room. This next scene's so weird. The camera's weird. We cut back to the Christmas party, and we have like Barb on one end and Claire's dad on the other end, but like it looks like the scene is cut in half because everything behind him is out of focus, but she's in focus. It's a very weird shot.
At the dinner table?
Where she gives the alcohol to a drunk
Oh,
kid.
I know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a weird shot, like the way it's composed. We cut back. We're back at the house. We cut back to Jess answering the phone, and it's the moaner again. And basically, every time he calls, he's killed somebody. Those are the rules. So if I remember correctly, this call should be for Claire.
Yes.
We don't know what the first call was for. They never tell us who the first call's for. I have in my notes, these calls are just so creepy.
I mean, it definitely does the job of making you unsettled.
As a viewer, I'm scared. And I'm scared for this person. We cut to a police officer and Claire's dad. His name is Jennings.
Oh, okay. The one at the front desk?
Yes, I only remember that because Fuller at the end says, call Jennings. That's the only way I know it. Barb and Phil are trying to fill out a missing persons report, and Jennings is just being so fucking shitty.
In 1974 and now 2001, cops not taking missing persons, let alone missing women, seriously tracks, unfortunately.
I feel like it's that, but also it's missing young.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, like he says, she went out drinking. She probably, went and did this, went to a person's house, blah, 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 blah. But and her friends are like, no, she was home. Now she's not. She's not that type of person. It's very frustrating.
I think for me, it would be like she was home. She wasn't. All her stuff is still here. I would get it if, like, maybe her wallet is gone or maybe her suitcase is gone, because then they could be like, oh, she just ran away with, like, Chris or something. But everything's there. Shit's weird. We cut back to Jess helping Mrs. Mack inside the house, and Jess brings up the call, and they talk about Claire. We get another police office scene, and This is that scene.
Is it?
This is a scene where I made it a part of a sentence because I thought it was going to be so inconsequential. And little did I know this would wrap back around to the best joke
With
of the
Margot's
movie.
character, right? Barb? Yes.
With Barb,
yes.
yep. I was like, oh, this is just a goofy scene. And then it comes back back in the third act, and it's great. We cut to the ice hockey ring with Jess, and Jess asks Chris about Claire being missing. And here's the thing. He's not, because, like, the way a lot of these movies would be pan out is Chris is like, oh, well, okay. But, like, no, he's actually concerned. And he's like, let's go back to the cops. And, oh, my God. Oh, no. We cut back to Peter. And he's at his piano recital, and he is so sweaty and so bad.
My line of notes literally just says, Peter's fucking crazy.
If I was listening to this and I was like evaluating, I'd be like, okay, so let's end the recital and see if we can get like a psychoanalysis on this guy.
I think he just broke.
Because I was like, is he supposed to be performing something, or is he
hitting
just
the keys,
mashing keys?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I could perform the same song if I'm just mashing keys. And then, like, they would close it on his fingers, and they're, like, stuttering. And like, okay, so wait, maybe he is trying. And then they would zoom back out, and he's, like, mashing. And like, is he not trying? I don't know what's going on.
Here.
But also, he is so sweaty. Oh, my God. He was soaking wet. After all of that, we come back to the police office. And we get Fuller, who you did not warn me. This was Nancy's dad.
Who?
From
yeah. The
you
actor.
didn't warn me about this.
Yes, he's fantastic.
Yeah, you didn't warn me about this. This guy's like, just plays cops in horror movies, I guess. All right. And he takes Chris and Jess into the office about Claire. And do we? Oh no, I guess I skipped the thing where he's like, why did Jennings not tell me? Like, this actually sounds concerning. Like, so you're telling me they were getting weird calls, and now one of them is missing.
And they already knew about the girl in the park? Did they know she was missing?
So, as Fuller is taking them in, the woman who just reported her child missing is leaving.
Got you.
It's kind of like, it's like a
I
back-to-back.
understand. Okay.
We get to what is probably the most interesting scene of this movie.
Which is?
We cut back to the house, and what appears to be a joke, soon you find out is not a joke. Barb is shit-faced. Yeah. And the reason why it gets you think it starts out as a joke is she talks about 3 hours sex between turtles. Which is,
it's funny. Like she's going on a rant here.
It's like a funny thing. Yeah, she's drunk. She's on a rant. She kind of has like that. This is her trope. Her trope is the drunk one. And she does all of this, and she starts to head back to like where her chair is, and she just looks back at them. She's just like, "You blame me. I know you all blame me for this." And you're like, "Okay, this." So, yes, she is a partier. We already know this because before all this happened, she was a partier. But how bad she has been, like she was drunk at the police office, like all of this. It's that thing of they don't blame her, but she's definitely blaming herself.
I really think for me, I don't know if it's Margot's acting, but the writing for her character and giving her this, well-rounded personality and feelings really shine through. Like at some points I was like, spoiler alert, I really wish she was the final girl.
Same. I was going to say that her death was the most heartbreaking for me.
Yeah, because we got so much from her. Then a little bit of a fun fact, Margot insisted to her drunk scenes where she would actually be drunk. So she's definitely plastered.
She appeared drunk.
It's kind of troubling because Margot does end up as a person having some substance abuse and some mental health issues. But I think her performance in this is stellar.
I really wish she didn't die.
I know.
Like I will say, best death of the movie, best shot, best everything.
Hands down.
But if I could have had her live at the end, that would have been great.
Again, yeah, at least as maybe the final girl, I would have been nice.
Yeah. So they tell Barb to go to bed, and she does, and we cut to, and we're back to Peter. Great. He's breaking his piano, and this is it. I consider this the official
Literal
breaking
point.
Yes. Like, yes, is the symbolism on the nose? Yeah, it is. I'll admit that. But at the same time, this guy is on like a one-way track to
downward
bad
spiral
decisions.
for sure.
Jess and Chris are back at the house, and we get. I liked this scene. They have a discussion, but we view it from outside the house, so everything's quiet to us. And everyone leaves besides the old lady and Barb, because Barb is asleep. Mrs. Mack, sorry. We cut to... This is one of those things where I said before I have the sentence. This is one of them. We just cut to a search and rescue for the girl. Just because she's just kind of used as a plot device for everyone to get back to the house at a certain time, and for everyone to not be around the house past a certain time. It's kind of it. Back at the house, we see Peter across the street, just like looking.
This
at the
scene, it's probably just the framing and the lighting gave me remnants of the scene in The Exorcist where the priest is standing outside of the house, ready to go to battle. So to me, this kind of symbolizes, okay, Peter is here to do some sort of damage. What kind of damage that is, we don't know at this point.
I will say, I didn't think anything about it at first, because he did say he was going to meet her that night.
The lighting and the framing made it very creepy for me.
Mrs. Mack is drinking and packing, and Kat, oh God. The cat is licking Claire's dead body. And we get a brief Moner POV shot. Old lady thinks she hears the cat again as she searches the house, and that search leads her to the attic. Once in the attic, the old lady finally, Mrs. Mack sees Claire, turns around, and the Moner sends I forgot what type of hook it's called.
It's to hoist things up into the attic.
It's a grappling
something
hook?
like kind of.
Yeah. A little bit. Into like her underneath her jaw, like
into the neck area. Yeah,
he kills her.
This was a nice shot. We get the shot of the POV from the rope swinging into Mrs. Mack, and then we get Mrs. Mack point of view of the rope coming into her. Really, really clever shot of connecting those two. Very, very well done.
It was a very well done shot. This entire time, I didn't bring this up because I didn't think they were going to come around to it. There's a taxi driver outside the house waiting for Mrs. Mack to come. And he knocks on the door, and he leaves. And the POV watches as he leaves, and he begins to go on like a tirade of the attic.
Was absolutely straight up terrifying.
Can I tell you why this wasn't scary to me? Because it was in the trailer. So
I watched the movie before, but I think when I first saw it, the absolute unhinged noises this person was making really put it on another level. Yeah, he's throwing things around, he's throwing a tantrum, but I think it's the feral noises that really get to me.
Jess heads back to the house to meet Peter. And we get a shot of Claire and Mrs. Mack, and we right after that we cut to a woman screaming, and they found the missing girl. They don't really say who killed her. I don't think we know who killed her.
I don't think so either. Are you supposed to? I think you're supposed to connect the killer in their house to this girl. But for me...
But she went missing in the afternoon, and there was no call that would have signified he killed her.
Unless he did it just on the way to the house. that night.
But the thing was, the only open call they had was the night that this started. But the mother said she didn't show up after school, which means she saw them that morning. So that means he would have had to kill her between like 12 and 1. I
don't know. It could have been the kill that set him off and he comes to this house. Or it's completely unrelated and it's a red herring.
I think it's unrelated. With the evidence the movie gives us, I think it's a little unrelated. The phone is ringing back at the house. Jess picks it up upon entering, and the moaner is back. And this is probably, I think, this is like her big scene. Like her big, like, kind of like the biggest call of the movie.
Her reactions, facial acting, top tier. Top fucking tier.
She freaks out and, like, searches the house. She uses the phone to call the cops, and she keeps like getting put on hold, and we see like feet coming down the stairs, and I'm like, I know you want me to think it's the moaner, but I know it's Peter.
I just sense
Which
it.
is equally as bad. It's like equally as bad. It's like, is it the moaner? Is it Peter? We don't know. She's fucked either way with these two. Jess doing, just queen levels of managing is dealing with fucking Jennings and Peter.
This girl and her patience.
How does she do it? I couldn't deal with Jennings.
Exactly.
Peter. Oh my God! Here we go. Here's the thing. Yes, Peter's fucking crazy. But he's so fucking entertaining.
Because he's so crazy.
He's so insane. Like, he's a caricature. Like, he feels like a caricature, but I know he's not. Yeah. I know there are people that are like this. Peter and Jess start talking. He's like, I've decided we're getting married. And Jess is like, the fuck?
This is a two-way street?
Who decided?
It wasn't me.
My thing is Jess is shook.
She's very shooketh.
That was she was shooketh to her core. Peter does not get the hint. She tries so nice at first. She's like, Peter, this is the one where you were talking about. Where
she's talking about how this would affect her life, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm not ready. There's still stuff I want to do, things I want to explore. Right. Like, trying to be very nice without saying, no, I'm not married.
But he's an insensitive and self-absorbed prick. Like, it's not going to get through.
Remember, I guess his whole thing is, I'm going to leave the piano cult.
That's basically what
I'm going to leave the coven.
Yes, it's the coven.
I'm going to leave the coven.
Like, what, are you a priest? Like, what's going on?
I'm like, what the fuck? Is this like Christian piano school? Those exist? All right. He's like, I'm going to leave the coven, and I'm going to move out of there, and we're going to get married, and we're going to have this baby, because we're married.
I love how he's saying, like,
because I want this baby. This baby's so important to me. But the thing is, whenever it's like, we, all this is important to me. Like, he can't even keep it, like, all this is important to us. Like, he's like, no, this is a me thing. Eventually, he doesn't get the hint, so she just says no. And he threatens her.
Because of course.
Oh, wait, he doesn't threaten her yet.
Oh.
Not yet.
Okay.
Because we get a brief cut.
And then we come back.
We get a brief cut to the cops. And we get probably what I consider not acting. Fuller is giving shitty cop shit.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, listen. So this is where he says, so a girl's gone missing. These people have been getting calls, like weird harassing calls, and now one of them is missing. Don't you think you should bring that to me? And, shitty cop is shooketh, cuz, well, yeah. So he's like, do you have their phone number? And he's like, yeah, one of them gave it to me before. Fuller says, give me the phone number. He comes, crazy, goes, get out of here. and you see like to the right of the frame, like another cop about to lose his shit. He is snickering because he knows what's on that paper. I don't think that cop was acting.
No, he couldn't have been.
I think they were like, hey, put something on that piece of paper so when Fuller's actor reads it, like, you both laugh. So I feel like he knew what was on that piece of paper. Because Fuller looks at it, and this cop loses it. To the point where I started to lose it,
My note
too.
is, I'm this detective.
I was just like,
yeah.
Yeah. And we get Fuller be like, Jennings, can you come over here? What is this? They're like, yeah, this is the phone number. She gave what was the
Fellatio.
it was fellatio. Okay. She was like, yeah.
It's a new extension, is what she said.
Like, yeah. And you see Fuller confused. He's like, I don't know if I should berate you or fucking laugh. I don't know what this is right now. Also, if this episode gets taken down, we know which word did it.
Well, whatever.
I don't think there's enough people listening to this to where that word does it. And he goes, just go back to your desk. And Jennings doesn't get it, and he's like, oh, I understand. It's a sex thing. It's a new sex thing.
Right on, Jennings. Right on.
And the other cop starts losing it even harder. Back at the house, and Peter's being such a little bitch. Such a little bitch. And I go, he borderline threatens Jess, and then he fully threatens her.
He starts, and then he fully takes it to that point. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
He's got to go. He's got to go.
As he's leaving, Fuller comes in, and Fuller's like, yeah, this guy's super sus.
his cop senses go off, and is like, this guy's a problem.
You know, that's great. Your cop senses should have probably went off in the last 5 minutes of this movie also, though. The cops are here to place, like, bugs on the phone.
A tracker type of thing.
For a second. Yeah. And Fuller's here to check Claire's room, and he questions the girls about her. And I will admit, this is something that, like, if I was one of the girls, I'd be so fucking uncomfortable. Because it's like, Jess, you were the last one to see her. Yeah. When'd you see her? At nighttime. At the party. That's so unbelievable in a way. Because it's like, you guys lived together. You probably would have seen her. But like, reality is they actually didn't. And I will say, for a moment, I thought the guy who was bugging the phones was going to die the way the camera work was
really?
going. Yeah, the way the camera work is like, oh, it seems like someone's watching him. Fuller stations a cop outside the house before leaving, and Peter appears from like behind a tree.
God, I hate him so much.
I am 90% sure Peter does. Oh, sorry, I am 99.9% sure Peter does what happens to this cop at the end of the movie.
Which is interesting. I love this theory. I'm totally behind this theory, except I don't think, I mean, depending on how the scene was lit, I don't see any evidence physically on him.
But the thing was, the way his neck was slashed, there was no blood spread on the car either.
Well, maybe they couldn't afford it, but regardless.
Yeah. Either way, I just, the Moner's MO of kill a person then call, the only kill in this movie that did not have a call was the police officer stationed outside the house. Phil knows that. Phil does this thing where she's like, I know Claire's dead.
Yeah.
Like, she just knows it. And she ends up going upstairs because,
Upset.
We get a quick scene at the switching station, followed by a dead Claire she's now holding a doll in the rocking chair. She's been given a doll.
Now, I don't know if, I mean, we haven't really talked about it, and I don't know if it's happened yet, but the Moner starts to talk about a girl named Agnes.
Agnes is...
This
I believe Agnes comes in on the call where Jess comes home and Peter comes down the
Okay.
stairs.
So
That's where we get it. That's where we get introduced to her.
from what I gathered, it's what, his sister or like yeah.
It's his sister because they said that like mother told you. I think they said like mother told you to take care of Agnes or like
so
something about that. But it's definitely his
from
sister.
what I'm understanding is maybe the first kill, and maybe she looks like her. Claire represents Agnes to this killer. So
True. But the thing is, he calls every woman.
yeah,
Agnes.
but I'm just saying, like, maybe that was an initial thought, and maybe that's why she has this doll. Or just to be straight up creepy. You know, it's a creepy looking thing.
Maybe he thinks every girl is Agnes because it sounds like Agnes died when she was a baby.
So that's very possible.
The Moaner makes his way down from the attic and into Barb's room.
Oh my god, it's
and
so creepy.
Barb has an asthma attack. And Jess comes to help her, and part of me is like, was she dreaming or did she just catch him in time that first time?
Who, Barb herself? No, she straight up says it. She says, I was dreaming that, you know, this man was standing over me. And no, she straight up saw him, and he freaked out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think it was a dream. She saw him.
Like, in my opinion, right now that's what happened, and he's in the closet waiting until Jess leaves.
I have a question. If Jess took Barb with her, do you think he would have chased?
No. Because
Is it only chase when you get seen?
probably, he doesn't seem like he's willing to do more than one-on-one kill. You know what I mean?
Okay. So if like Jess was like, you know, she wasn't like, oh my god, let's search the house, but if she was like, hey Barb, let's do something real quick, and then she took Phil out of the house, you think he would have followed, or he would have?
I think he would have stayed in the house or left.
Oh, they had so many.
I know.
Moments to get the hell out of this house. The Moaner watches. He's in the hallway.
Yeah.
I forgot. He's watching them from the hallway. And Jess leaves Barb. She puts her back to sleep. Leaves Barb and goes back down the stairs to a kids' choir at the door of the house. As this happens, oh god, this scene's so great. This is such a great kill scene. The Moaner makes his way to Barb's room and he kills her with the unicorn glass figure. And it's cutting between like the rainbow of the glass, him, Barb dying, the kids, and there's kind of like this scene of him stabbing, but in the background you see that she has like a skull hanging on her wall, and the skull's right there, like perfectly in frame. It's a really
It's beautiful. The shadow and light work that they use with this scene is very, very well done. Everything is lit exactly how it should be. The beautiful POV shots are really nice. We're getting that rocking motion of him going down to kill her. So it's like we're feeling it or we're actually doing the act itself. Yeah. And then the slow-mo at the end is really the cherry on top for me. I'm usually not a fan of that, but for this, it felt right for the scene.
Ask Friday how you feel with slow-mo.
Exactly.
I will say, part of me is like, I do really wish Barb lived. But at the same time, this death is so good that if it wasn't in the movie, I feel like it would kind of deter.
Yeah, it would definitely bring the grade down for the overall movie. It's definitely a shining point.
The choir finishes singing, and then they're forced to leave because the news about Dead Girl finally like makes its way around. Jess, she's talking to an old lady, Jess is, and the phone's ringing. So old lady's like, "Oh, hey, your phone's ringing." Jess is like, "Okay, I'll go answer it." She's answer it, and we're back to the Moaner, and now they're starting to be tapped. This is our first tapped call of the night. The Moaner says a line from... He doesn't say a line. He basically repeats Jess and Peter's argument from earlier before hanging up. Yeah, because
they don't know, but we know that he was right upstairs listening.
But here's the thing. Okay, this is... I try not to find plot points by plot holes very often. This movie has like 3 that I can't look past. We're already talking about 2 of them. If I was in Jess's position, and basically this is confirmed, you now know Peter was not. Within the next like 30 minute, you know that Peter was not the person who was just calling because he was in the house while you were on the phone. So you know this. This person overheard your argument. Wouldn't you piece together that this person is very close by to you, like in the fucking house?
Ideally, yes, but I think her just level of fear is kind of outweighing any type of logic or any type of connection that she can make.
I also think probably because we're thinking about this in 2021 state of frame, and you or I or mostly anybody now, if this was to happen, the first rule is get the fuck out of this house. In the 70s, you probably don't think, oh, there's a person in the house with me. They didn't catch him. I was gonna say like they didn't. We weren't able to get his location. The police call and talk to Jess while the moaner watches from upstairs. Fuller asks about Peter, but is interrupted. Which, if I remember, this is when he gets interrupted by being told that they didn't get the call. Back at the house, and the moaner watches Phil and Jess talk. I think this is a really weird shot because it's shot to be like they're being watched, but also there's no evidence.
No, I think it was supposed to be him watching them. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here we go. This is it. This is the Peter moment. The piece de resistance Peter moment. Jess gets a phone call from Peter. She's like, hello? Jess, we can't have the I want the baby.
That's actually really good.
And I'm like, oh, he's lost. And this is the moment like he's lost it. He's officially lost
Jess knows it too.
Not like, yeah, like he's gone. This isn't like but he's been losing it, but he's officially manic right now. Like, my theory that he was going back in that house to kidnap Jess at the end, this is what pulls it, because this was his official breaking, gone crazy moment. Jess is so dumb. She's like, I'm dealing with shit tonight.
I don't have time to deal with you.
We'll talk about this later. She hangs up. Fuller calls back, and Jess is like, you were listening
she's like,
to
oh,
that?
Shit.
And Fuller's like, yeah, we're tapping your house to find a killer. Of course I'm going to listen to any call that comes into the house. And he's
like, so what was that shit? What's going on?
What about the baby? What did he say about you guys have to have the baby? And she tells him what's going on. And I would say he's really cool about it. He's just like, so, is he always this crazy? Or is this like a new thing? And in my notes, I have artist equals crazy in the 70s.
That's fair. If
you're an artist, you are crazy. And now I have that the moaner watches on from the stairway. I do know he's watching right now. This is such a lighthearted scene for something that is a very, like, the heaviest part of the movie. We get to a very lighthearted scene. The girls start to, like, lock the windows and stuff, and the search party appears at the back door. And they're like, oh, there's a killer on the loose. Be careful. These guys are buffoons. But also, they're just creepy enough to be...
weird. Off-putting.
A little off-putting.
But like I said, if you have 100% of the time just scariness and just horror, it's not going to pay off if you don't have those ebbs and flows. So this is a nice... emotional break from that, and then we can go straight up into the climax from here.
I do agree with you. I think the only reason why it was a little jarring was we've passed all the lighthearted stuff to this point so far, and we are so heavy into the deep shit. For me, the moment that Barb does her, like, is drunk and she has, like, her kind of, like, monologue moment, that was the moment the movie kind of went heavy, and I didn't expect it to get light again. Just because of how long it was heavy up to that point. Oh, and Phil's locking the windows. Prowler's on the loose. Oh, that in the movie they call him the Prowler.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that. He is named the Prowler. in my notes, I have Barb goes to check on Barb. That's
Phil.
not what happens. Phil goes to check on Barb, and she opens the door and is basically pulled into the room. And
It was
killed off.
very supernatural. I wasn't a fan of that because it felt like, I don't know, some sort of Evil Dead moment of like a deadite or some sort of supernatural force closing that door. It didn't fit for me.
You know what doesn't fit for me? This next scene. We cut to a random scene of Fuller at the piano room. He's just like, look at the piano, and it's like, it's destroyed. I'm like, yeah, we know it's destroyed. That's nice. And the Moaner calls Jess. They trace the call, and they now know the call is coming from the house, and Fuller tries to get in contact with the station cop, and this is when we learn the station cop has his neck slit.
I think, just to circle back a little bit to that scene that you don't really agree with, I think this is supposed to tell the audience that Fuller and the cops right now are thinking Peter is the suspect. So, because that kind of... I
mean, he's done...
Well, that comes...
He's done enough.
To the point of the end of the movie. When, I mean, we'll get there, but that's the whole circle at that point.
He's done enough overt shit in front of Fuller to be like the main suspect.
His radar is going off. Those red lights and flags are flailing. Yeah, completely understandable.
Fuller tells the police office for Jennings call. This is the only moment in the movie I agree with Jennings. Jennings was told, don't tell her the call is coming from in the house. That was the rule. No, wait, but since it's Jennings, he breaks the rule. He is correct in breaking this rule, though. You'll learn why in a second. Because this is where I think Jess has her ultimate stupid moment. Jess gets another call, and this time it's from Jennings. He tells her to leave the house, but she refuses. She says, I have to go and get everyone from upstairs first. He then goes, walk out of the house. She's like, no, I have to get everybody. He goes, the calls are coming from inside the house. Walk out.
Thinking that's going to deter her from going to get her friends.
Yes. Now, this is why I think she's dumb. You have just spent... Okay, let's put the equation together. You just got a call. Call's coming from inside the house. You have not seen the guy down the stairs, which means he's on top of you. You are calling for your two friends that are upstairs and nobody's answering. Wouldn't you assume he's upstairs with them? They're probably dead. I should walk the fuck out of this room.
Logically, yes. But two things. We're coming from a point of view of a very scared college girl by herself. And these girls are her sisters. This is like a sorority house type of situation. This is family to her. So she's not going to leave her family. And two, it's a plot device. You can't get around it.
And two, plot says she's not out to leave.
But I can definitely see where you're coming from. But then I can see the spectrum of how Jess reacts, for sure.
Because here's the thing. Here's how I'll put it. You just got a call. Also, I just want to say this. The last 3 calls, the moaner has been really fucking loud. If you are telling me they cannot hear the call coming from right above them while this man is screaming bloody murder, something is wrong, and it's not with the house, it's with their ears. That's where the plot device comes in, is that they do not hear this man
going off.
Going off. But here's what I would be thinking if I was Jess. Let's just say that is her family. Let's play with that. If I scream their names, that in my head would be like, okay, I'm alerting the killer that I know he's in the house. Which means if they're alive, they're automatically in super danger because he knows now that I know he's in the house. If I walk outside and act like nothing is wrong, it is more likely that he's still going to think he's safe and not do anything.
Yeah, no, that's fair for sure.
I said instead of leaving the house, she grabs a fire poker and goes upstairs like an idiot.
I forgot to mention, but the desperation in
Her screams.
Yeah, her screams for her friends was so good. It felt so real. It goes.
I want to know if they ended shooting right after that, because there's no way she continued to do
it was
everything after
raw.
screaming like that.
But that just goes to show when you have talented actors what they can do with what you give them, for sure.
Her throat was destroyed
easily.
after that. You cannot tell me her destroyed throat. You could not tell me she did not have 3 cups of tea after that shot.
Much needed, for sure.
Jess eventually gets to Barb's room and she opens up the door and she is greeted by some interior decorating.
Is that what we're calling it?
Featuring Barb and Phil.
Just artfully placed together.
Yeah, that's interior decorating.
Yeah.
This is it. This is where I'm officially fucking
the eye,
creeped.
correct?
This is probably the second most. The thing that happens 30 seconds later
oh my God,
is what
the
breaks
eye,
me.
though, right?
Jess hears whispers and she sees an eyeball peeping from the crack in the door.
Oh boy!
And he says something like, "It's okay, Agnes," or like,
I don't even remember what he said.
"Be quiet, Agnes." He refers to Jess as Agnes, so she sends the door into him, which I think like either crushes his hand or something.
Yeah.
Like she does something that stuns him, and she runs down the stairs and she can't get out. Which I'm like, you didn't lock the door that hard. Like that door's not hard to get out of. This is it. This is the moment that scared the shit out of me. It's a shot, and the shot is down the stairs, and it's pointed towards the top of the stairs, like the stairway. And I don't even see this man. That's how fast he fucking moves. But the camera is shaking, which means he is shaking this house. He rushes and runs down the stairs so fast that you can hear him. You don't see him.
It's just a blur. Yeah. Yep.
And before you know it, he grabs Jess by the hair.
It was so violent and straight up terrifying.
It was so fast. It was so fast.
Too fucking real.
Like,
you know?
Usually I'm like, oh, well, why didn't she think where she was running? I'm like, this guy didn't give her enough time to think what the hell was going on. She was already running. She had an idea. It's just he was. You were talking about primal before? This is it. This is the primal moment. I don't know how Jess manages to escape him, though, because he goes flying.
Does she hit him with the poker? I don't remember either.
Everything that happens right now is
it's
so quick.
It's like, what, in less than a minute or so?
This is around the final chase lasts like 45 seconds. And that's starting from when she slams the door into this guy. This scene right here is around 5 seconds. She locks herself in the basement, and he goes insane on the door. And eventually leaves. And her being smart, most of the time, you know how this story would go. They would open the door back up to the living room, and then starts part 2 of the chase. No. She's like, I'm going to go into the basement. Because right now the basement's the safest place to go. While she's going into the basement, the cops are heading to the house. So we're now seeing like a parallel of what is happening. Jess continues to explore the basement until she hears a voice and sees a silhouette coming from like the other side of a frosted window.
So scary. So scary.
And I kind of figured like, okay, this may be Peter. But I didn't, like, if I didn't have that possibility in my head and I knew it was that, it was most likely going to be the Moaner, I would get fucking freaked. We eventually do learn that's Peter, and Jess looks petrified.
The best part about this is there's no score. It's complete silence. It's just you, Jess, the basement, and this shadowed figure. And then when we find out it's Peter, we get this beautiful lighting on her face where she comes up and it's just showing the absolute fright in her eyes.
Because here's the thing. This woman just got chased by a guy.
Doesn't know what the guy really looks like. She just saw his eye.
Like,
that's it.
Which I'm like, I mean, you should know Peter well enough to know that he doesn't
But
have red
in that
eyes.
flash of a moment, she's
that
not
moment,
reading that.
I know.
He's unhinged. She knows he's fucking losing
He's
it.
unhinged. Honestly, when we get like a little bit further into this, I'm gonna tell you what I think happened, because the movie leaves a lot ambiguous what happens in that basement. But she sees him, and dumbass decides he's gonna break through a window. Really sowing your innocence when you're breaking through a window. There's a front door, my guy. You know, if this was any other movie, Peter would have broken through the front door and been like, I'm gonna save you. And then he doesn't. Peter breaks in, and Jess hides. Peter searches the basement as she hides, and he eventually finds her and goes towards her. The cops arrive at the house, and we hear Jess screaming from outside. Fuller sees the dead cop, then he hears Jess screaming. We cut to the door of the attic being broken down by the police, and they find an alive Jess with a dead Peter in her lap. I firmly believe he was there to abduct her.
Oh, 100%. Either that or kill her.
Yeah, he was. I don't think he would kill her only because he wanted the baby. I think he would just abduct her so he would force her to have
That,
the baby.
or he was just so enraged that she's not giving him what he wants that he just went into a frenzy.
Yeah. That
and
is
then
also
she
true.
passed out from
But
the shock.
the way I get there, she I don't think she killed him without motive.
No, of course not. Why would she? Or the only thing I could think of was she was already at a fucking 12 of fright that she just lost it. But I don't think that's the case. I think he gave her a reason.
Neither do I. There's way too much.
Yeah. They were building
stuff
way too much for
pointing
his
towards-
character at that point.
Yeah. If he was going to be like the quote unquote good guy, you just would have had Billy, the Prowler, the Moaner call him.
Yeah.
I'll kill him. That was it. That would have been the way he goes out. We cut. This is it. This is where I go. The cops are dumbasses.
Oh, the last scene is so infuriating.
The last scene. This is so fucking stupid. And also, this is not police procedure, so like this is like extra stupid. And Fuller is competent, so I don't. If this was Jennings, I would have gotten it, but it's Fuller, which makes this so bad. We cut to Jess sleeping. She's been like doped up on medicine to put her to sleep. And the cops believe it was Peter all along, as they should, because
all the signs were there.
All the signs point toward Peter. And all of the living characters are now in Jess's room. And they all eventually leave.
For one reason or another.
For one reason or another. Now, here's the thing. I don't have it in my notes, but I remember this because I was like, this is so stupid. They say this house only has 2 other dead bodies.
Barb and
which
Phil.
is Phil and Barb. There's a fucking attic.
They're not thinking of that at this moment. They think they're missing. They think they're connected probably to the girl they found in the park.
That's true. But also, let me point this out. As a cop, as a detective...
Yeah. You search every inch.
Not that you search every inch, but you are supposed to have very good deductive reasoning. Like, it's supposed to be above par of an average person. If there are dead bodies in this house already, wouldn't you want to check the entire house for dead bodies? Wouldn't deductive reasoning say, maybe we should check this entire house because there's a lot of dead bodies in here?
But,
This is where I was like, okay, this is plot convenience that they didn't check.
You knew I was just about to say that, yes.
The house. Because this was nothing but plot convenience, because any sort of deductive reasoning would have been, let's check the attic. And I was like, man, if the police got him, that would have been a great moment. It also would have been scary, because then he's going off against cops. And the thing was, we never seen him face a guy. I don't know if he maybe backs down with men. And he only likes to go after women.
This ending scene, though, is very creepy, too.
I mean, we all know how this ends.
Yeah.
No one makes it out of this movie
No.
alive.
But again, it's the audio editing that really stole the show for me at this point.
Jess is left alone with one cop sitting outside the house for a lookout, and we get a panning shot of all the girls' rooms. And we eventually pan to the moaner making his way down the attic, and he says, "It's okay, Agnes. Don't tell anybody," or something like that. And we cut to a wide shot of how it's the wide shot of the trailer, and we get a shot of Claire's and Mrs. Mack's dead bodies, which is also the trailer shot. Basically, the best scene of this movie they put in the trailer. It's right at the end, and the movie ends with a phone call coming from inside the house, informing the viewer that Jess is now dead.
Yeah, that's what I would infer as well.
That follows the MO. That leaves us with no survivors.
Yep.
Which I was like, now here's the thing. We would not be back at this type of formula where there is no survivors until the mid-2000s, when that became a thing again. Yeah. The mid-2000s was that thing of Saw brought it back where no one really gets out. So The Strangers is one of those movies where no one really gets out alive. And I think this is probably closer to it because with Liv Tyler's character, there's a possibility she gets out alive, but you don't know.
Yeah, there's no confirmation.
Same thing with Jess. There's a possibility this is just a random thing, but there's no confirmation that it's not that she died.
I think I definitely prefer this formula to a survivor.
I don't like movies where you have a survivor and they're not mentally fucked up.
Right, like we talked about with what was it? Yeah,
Friday Part 3.
Yeah,
with Chris being broken. Chris, here's the thing: any human being that goes through that stuff, you're shattered by the morning. Your psyche is gone. Your rest of your life, you do not trust anybody.
Understandably.
You can't go out. You probably can't go outside. You're scared to even go to the bathroom or go to sleep. Because all you're gonna do is just see that shit, and you're not gonna think that person's really gone, even if you know they are. You're not gonna think it. So it is morbid to be no one gets out alive. It's not a happy ending, but at the same time, it's a lot more powerful that no one got out of this alive.
Easily. Yeah, that's why I prefer it for sure.
Yeah. So you remember Agnes?
Yes.
I could talk about this in the closing, but I'll talk about it now. You remember how Agnes is kind of a fake? It's a character that Billy alludes to. If I remember correctly, in the 2006 remake, Billy and Agnes are both killers.
Really?
It's revealed. Ooh. Yeah. Not as good of a twist as you would think it is.
Yeah.
But now that I've seen this and I've seen the 06 one a few years back, I now know why people really don't like the 06 one.
I have not seen that one, thank goodness.
It's really not good. I think it may be by the same company that did the Texas Chainsaw remake, the Nightmare remake, the Friday remake. The people who did all the big movie remakes. I think that was
makes
one of
sense.
them. But let's get to a little bit of a prolonged closing thought since we don't have a hunt this build for this week.
Sure. Let's get to that movie roundup.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. I'm going to be leading off the movie roundup. Overall, I really, really like this movie. It may be on the slower side for people who are used to, I don't know, fast-paced slashers or horror movies in general. I know RJ was a little hesitant for this movie, maybe because it was going to be a little dry, a little slow, so it's not everyone's cup of tea. But this movie goes to show that having a low budget isn't an excuse to have a subpar film. They yeah. They really hit it off on all cylinders here. Camera work, lighting, music, sound editing, acting, everything across the board is pretty fucking phenomenal. Very, very impressive work. And again, it's a classic. This is what starts slashers that we have come to.
Well, not technically. Psycho.
Well, besides that, it's been a minute since
we got
Psycho.
the Psycho. It's been a minute.
So overall, out of 10, I'd give it probably 8 out of 10.
I'll start with this. I'd give it a 7.
Yeah, I have 7 on my paper.
It's perfectly serviceable.
But I'm just comparing it. Maybe I'm just coming off of...
I think for this season up to this point, it's definitely a 9. It's not even an 8. It's a 9 at that point.
Yeah, I'm thinking at it at that point. So on paper,
let's
7,
just say
in
this.
my mind, 8.
We've enjoyed this movie so much. Before I get into like what I thought about it, we've both enjoyed this movie so much that we have canceled Friday for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so if you were looking forward to our thoughts...
all 2 people of this thing that love us on our Friday.
And everyone who's really sick and tired of Friday just as much as we are canceling them until further notice.
So at least season like 5.
Or what have you.
But I will say I have some fun replacements. It also means we get to have some more freedom throughout the year.
Yeah.
We can have some more mini stuff.
Yeah, but we'll keep that in the bag for now and leave it up to a little bit surprise for you guys.
I will say one thing about this movie. You're right. I was worried going into this because we just went through Friday. Those are 70. Even yes, they came out in the 80s, but like 3 of them might as well just be in the 70s, and then 1 is so 80s and horny. I will say this. After episode 4, I started to hate watching movies. I was like, I can't. I don't know if I can watch Black Christmas. I don't think I can do this because like 4 left such a bad taste in my mouth. This is like the proto slasher, which would mean that it's going to be dry. I don't think I can do dry again because I'm going to hate this movie because it's going to be so dry. And then it was not dry at all. Like I did not find anything about this dry. This had a full-on plot, fully developed characters. Something, I don't even think we talked about it. We remembered almost everybody's name.
And what does that say?
There was no
to
nicknames.
To me, that says well-rounded characters, memorable acting.
But also, the characters' names are said out loud
Multiple
to
times.
the viewer. Yep. Yes. Even Claire, who's like dead for 90% of this movie, I know her name. Like Friday, I don't even know if they ever even say characters' names out loud more than once. I would give this movie like a 7. It's good. It's very well acted for something that was so like usually you associate low budget with bad acting. This was not it. I don't know what else I can say about it. I think throughout the episode it seemed pretty clear I really enjoyed this. And I called you right after watching it, like probably like the day after, be like, "We're not going back."
Yeah,
to
and
Friday.
I was like, "Oh, thank God!" I was gonna ask.
I can't do it.
And I was like, "Please, I can't." After watching this,
I had a taste.
Yeah,
I had a taste. I had a taste, and I just need a different killer every 1 to 2 episodes. I just need somebody different.
We're just not the same.
I can't
formula, you know.
True, but here's the thing: even on Friday, if we got to Freddy vs. Jason, I don't even know if I would enjoy Freddy vs. Jason.
At this point, yeah, and I like that movie, even though it's not the best.
And I'm like a Freddy fanboy. I love Freddy, but having to see that hockey mask would make me want to vomit at that point. Oh, this movie was so great.
I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did too. If you watched it before listening or after listening, that would be really cool.
I would like to hear if anyone actually listens to this. What people think about the Peter theory?
Yes. That would be. I would love to have that conversation.
This is actually the first movie we were allowed to have like an actual conversation about it.
Because it's inspiring. Because it was good.
It was good. So, I think that's gonna do it for our roundup. I think now it's just time for our closing. Isn't that great? There's no God. You know what? If this was Friday Part 5, I'd be like, yeah, it's great, but I'm like, I'm bummed we're not doing a haunt, actually.
I'm glad we just enjoyed this
This actually
film.
seemed fun.
Yeah. But we'll be getting back to the haunt next year?
Next year. Next year.
But
yeah.
So let's
go with the closing.
Let's go.
All right, everybody. That is about it for our first holiday episode.
Yes.
It was something that was very fun. I was a little worried doing a Christmas movie. Especially for slashers, they're a little tough to find compared to like monsters. Next week, well, not next week, next episode, which is in the next year, we're doing The Final Girls, which is a parody of Friday.
Oh, is it?
So we're actually not gone from Friday yet. We're leaving Friday with a parody.
Okay, all right, I'm down. I haven't seen this one, so this should be fun.
And I think it's our most recent. It'll be our most recently released horror movie. I think it's the 2010s.
Okay, all right.
So it's relatively recent.
Something fresh.
It's this movie is different, Paige.
Is it?
Yeah, this movie has the questions to ask. What if girls had mommy problems?
Oh.
Yes. Crazy, right? It's not just the guys with the mommy problems. The girls can have it
Cannot
too.
wait.
But yeah, I think that is actually going to do it. We had a great time. After the debacle, that was the last 2 episodes.
Yes.
Having something we enjoyed is very telling.
I hope you guys also liked not talking about Jason. So
we
did.
We loved it.
So that's
I didn't have to picture his mask for the first time in like 2 months. It's great.
So that's gonna do it.
That is gonna do it.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
I double that.
All right.
And we'll see you in the new year.
Bye.
Bye.